Hey guys, welcome back to Beast Quest Series 9. Book 1, Ursus the Clawed Roar. And it's great to be out of Series 8 to move on to other things. Here we are, Series 9. Malvel is back, and I'm glad to be out of Sanpeio's way. Now, before we start, I want to say I appreciate Malvel more as a villain. He's still lame with a typical, I am bad guy, I want to rule the kingdom and all that. But the reason why I didn't like him compared to Veltman was because he was a more personal threat to Tom, which got under his skin, which is why I liked him more. But Malvel is a serious threat too, because he's more of a, he affects others than himself, which still, like, he wants to take over everything. Which is boring, but it also is very threatening at the same time, so I do have a bit more respect for him now. Sanpeio is still weakest link to me as the villains. But with that being said, we move on back to Malvel's tactics of making beasts from good formula. So that's gonna be awesome. And that being said, let's start things off with Ursus the Clawed Roar. Tom and friends were riding to Uncle Henry's for the reunion with his family. After they saw Taladon and Freya, a huge feast was prepared for their return in Arenal. But then Adro showed up, and after not eating, Tom knew something was up. Adro asked Tom to gather Freya, Taladon, and Eleanor to meet him in the stables, where he explained Malvel was back and up to his tricks again. Tom and Eleanor were needed at the castle. Freya and Taladon wanted to come too, but Adro said they were needed at Gwildor. Using his new magic, he made the Tree of Being appear and take Taladon and Freya into Gwildor. Tom, Eleanor, Storm, and Adro were heading back to the castle, and Adro thought it was best they left Blizzard behind for this one. At the castle, they were too late. Adro opened a hidden chamber and saw that the warlock's staff had been taken by Malvel. The staff is given to a person to give them great power, but even better, if you burn the staff in the eternal flame, you can become invincible. Tom asked why he never mentioned this before, and Adro explained it was a secret passed down from wizard to wizard. The flame was located in a sacred kingdom called Seraph, a place where no beasts and purest of fruits and waters grew. Also, without the staff in its rightful place, Adro was dying, and if Tom didn't return the staff back, Adro would be gone forever. Pretty big step there. Tom and Eleanor were sad to see Adro die, but Eleanor believed if they could get the staff back, that would save Adro and bring him back. Now this is just a theory, they don't know if it's going to work for sure. It was worth a shot. After all, they had to stop Malvel before he did become a big threat. Adro had some items which he must have been planning to give to Tom and Eleanor. There were 6 tokens. They took them, and despite Adro telling them not to go to Seraph, they had to, in hopes of saving their friend and stopping Malvel from becoming invincible. They found a chamber with stairs, and they called their animals Storm and Silver, and reached for Seraph, where they encountered Petra. Now before I go on, I want to say, Adro right there, if Adro's, one of his lines was he didn't want them to go to Seraph, that's kind of not something I expect from Adro, because he says that if you get this staff, if Malvel destroys this staff, he will become invincible. And we all know that his goal is to take over the kingdoms. And he tells them not to go to Seraph? That's a bit questionable, because you're basically putting the kingdom in danger, but whatever. I guess he's just that worried for Tom and Eleanor. But then again, I don't understand why, because the only thing dangerous in Seraph is Malvel and his sidekick, which we'll get to later on. But, you know, that aside. So we're introduced to, Petra. Now we just get to this character. Petra was an enemy they had fought before against a beast called Mortax in a previous book, like a special. She is Malvel's minion and had escaped since then. There was no doubt she would have returned to her master. She had an anaconda. Before I go on, I want to say, if she was out there, why didn't she break him out of prison? That's a good plot hole right there, but oh well. She had an anaconda called Noctis. Now I want to say, before I go on, in the book it's called a unicorn, but it's not really a unicorn because it has wings like a Pegasus. So I'm getting this information off My Little Pony Friendship is Magic that there's a character in there called Twilight Sparkle, and they call that race of creatures anicorns, so I'm going off that. So I'm going off that. So Petra has an anicorn called Noctis, and they all got into a scuffle, and after some injuries from both Tom and Eleanor, they managed to repel the witch and get loose something from her tunic. She couldn't try getting it back now, as her wand had been snapped in the fight. So she made a retreat on Noctis and claimed that Malfoy was planning to have Beast for Seraph. Now, before I go on, here's another thing I want to point up. I'll mention that in the next part. So, they received a vision of Petra using her magic to create a beast by turning a average bear into a monstrous beast. They realized that Petra had dropped a map, and it revealed the location of the Eternal Flame and the first beast name, Ursus. A nice reference to Ursa Major, the Great Bear, or in other terms, the Big Dipper, the constellation of the stars. They ventured forth and encountered some villagers who explained that Ursus was once an animal loved by the people. Tom revealed that Malva and Petra were from his kingdom, and he planned to put things right. Now this is where I want to stop, because I need to point out that it's a bit convenient that Adro has 6 tokens for 6 beasts that he didn't know at the time were going to be created. Unless Malavil's that predictable to always make 6 beasts. Another thing I want to point out, it's also convenient that Petra has a map on her that not only reveals the location of the Eternal Flame, but the beast itself. So that's a bit convenient too. But oh well. Another thing I want to, actually, before I go on, I want to say, Marvel's plan in this series is to get the Eternal Flame, so why doesn't he just use his magic to just take him there? It wouldn't take him that much trouble, seeing how he's the Dark Wizard. But, oh well, I guess that's a bit, you gotta ignore some things in order for there to be a story. Unless there's a good reason, though. Whatever. Where was I at? Tom and Eleanor had a meal, and the people advised them to put rabbit droppings to hide their scent. Tom and Eleanor also wondered if the harp would have any effect on Ursus, as they didn't want to kill the beast. They headed for the forest and reached Ursus's spot, the waterfall, and from behind the showering curtain was the beast. Ursus had emerged. He was 3 times bigger than the ordinary bear. They lay on a cliff. Tom tried to get out of the harp. Yeah, he tried to get the harp out, but Ursus made his way up the cliff. So Tom took out the purple jewel, which blasted parts of the cliff and sent rubble pushing Ursus back. Eventually he came back, that is Ursus. Eleanor had got Storm and Silver out of there, only to remind himself that the tokens were inside Storm's saddlebag, so he had to race back after his companions. But then Storm had his legs tangled in some vines. So Tom tried to cut him free, but Ursus was right upon them. Tom managed to get the harp from Storm, and just in time, and managed to make Storm get out of there, retreat. However, despite him using the harp to put Tarpiz to sleep, Malval used a thunder spell to wake him up, allowing Ursus to destroy the harp and leaving nothing but strings. Eleanor made a distraction using her arrows, trying not to hit him but a nearby area, but not the beast, as he was like an innocent creature, of course. The tactic proved to be annoying Ursus, and this caused him to destroy Eleanor's bow. She hid behind a tree while Silver got in there, planning to annoy using his powerful agility. Eleanor and Tom made a new bow for Eleanor out of a piece of bamboo and the remaining harp strings. Eleanor used her arrow tactic again, and with the help of Storm and Silver outmaneuvering him, he began to lose his balance. But as Eleanor fired, Ursus slipped on some mud, moving his chest straight into one of Eleanor's arrows. The beast crashed into the lake, and blood was dripping from his body, and everyone was shocked because, they think he's dead. Turns out Ursus, of course, is not dead. The strings of the harp actually did help in a way that was not expected. Ursus's curse had been lifted, and he reverted back to his original lovable self. They brought the cave dweller's protector back to the to their home, back to them, and they celebrated their victory. Tom and Eleanor, this time, they were gonna finish off Malvel for good. That's what they say. They say, let's finish off Malvel for good and all that. Does that mean they plan to kill him? Probably not, but that would be interesting. And after all, we saw how prison worked, and that didn't stop him. So maybe Tom and Eleanor will come to a conclusion that death is the only way, unless they redeem him, which I doubt. So it would be nice to see them kill Malvel. I'm not... These are the good guys, though. They're probably not going to do that, and he's probably going to get away again. Tom and Eleanor head out forth to continue their adventure on Seraph. So, and that's the end of Ursus, the Clawed Roar. Overall, I can't really say much about the first book because it falls into the category of this is only the first book, and it relies a bit on setup in order to get the ball rolling. So, I can't really compare, and besides, the way I rate my books is I compare them to the others in the series down the line, so that's what we got there. Overall, though, I do really like this series, so... far. It's got Malvel in, again. As I've said before, I have underestimated him, but he's still low with the thing. But there are a few nitpicks I had with him in this this first one. The fact that he has Petra with him now as a goon or a minion, which is kind of cool. So he doesn't have to go. Well, he sends beasts out, but it's nice to have him have a personal minion. I mean, he did before with Seth, who was the Scorpion guy eventually. So that was cool. That was like a nice callback to Series 3. So it's nice to have Petra in there as a new side tool. Adro dying. That's a nice plot device to use. What else did I like? Well, Blizzard wasn't in it. They did remove some characters. They got rid of Taladon, Freya, and Blizzard. Some of the characters we could have done without. King Hugo wasn't in this one, which I understand. And yeah, I did like the reunion bit of them getting together and all that. Actually, I did like some of the drawings of Ursus in the book. It's pretty cool. So, and I did like that a bear got in there too, under the stuff. So, overall though, I can't really rate this book, but I will say it is a good start. And I do like the whole plan of the Eternal Flame and the staff becoming invincible. And I like the whole world itself called Seraph. That's a nice name. And the fact that Malvel has to create beasts from ordinary creatures is a nice concept, which I haven't seen him do before, and I don't think any other villain has used this tactic before. So, and it does lead into an exciting book that I'm actually hyped to see down the road, which I'm not going to say, but if you know the book I'm on about, you'll know. So that being said, this has been my review on Beast Quest, Ursus the Clawed Roar. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. And we'll be moving on to Minus the Demon Bull. Till next time.